Okay, everyone, audio recording. If the audio recording sounds like shit, then I'm gonna just delete it and record an actual review. But I figured I'm driving home for 10 minutes, so why not review Malignant on my entire way home? So I can talk to myself instead of doing anything else reasonable. Seen it 3 times now. I watched it on Saturday at home with some friends, because I was off work that night, and I didn't have to go until work Sunday until later. I watched it again Sunday because I didn't work on Monday. I just had to go to school. Did Epic at school. Pretty great. And then I watched it again tonight for my first time in the theaters, though. Which I will say, if you're going to see this movie, I'll let you know up front. If the trailer interests you, that might mean you still won't like it because it is not 100% what the trailer advertises. The trailer looks cool. It visually is interesting. But it's not 100% what you're thinking it's going to be. With the actual film itself, it's more campy horror, over-the-top, zany, sort of old-timey, Suspiria type horror. It's very much Italian giallo horror mixed with, like, the ideas of a very cheesy modern-day slasher. Literally, it can go from a Friday the 13th score to a Doom score to a Stranger Things score to a Suspiria score anytime. It's like those 4 scores combined, and it tonally changes. As the film tonally changes, the first act is very drama horror based. The second act is very, I would say, just cliche jump scare horror, some slashing kills, little moments that are fun to go through. And then the third act is insanity, bonkers, John Wick, Matrix, action horror. It gets fucking nuts. And I gotta admit to everyone here that on all 3 viewings of this movie, I have grown to love it. This is gonna be one like you'll go back and watch yearly around the Halloween time, and you're just gonna be like, holy shit, this is like just so bonkers, fun, and weird. Like, this film is weird as hell, let me tell you. Like, I don't know if I've seen a weirder film in a while. I would say with at least in the year, I don't think I've seen a weirder film. I'm trying to think about what came out last year to say I've seen something weirder. I might have seen a few weirder things before. But this is a pretty bizarre movie that I think... I get why audience members who are going to see it some are loving it and some are hating it. I'm bashing hating it. Like saying it's terrible, fucking dumb, not scary, weird. And I'm like, well, it's not necessarily scary, but it's almost like it's not trying to be that scary. It feels like it's more trying to be entertaining, violent, with a slight menage of creepiness throughout the film. I think I don't want to spoil the movie for everyone, so I'll just go through basic things. Story-wise, average story with a crazy twist that makes the third act really fun, is really what it is. It's not anything grand of storytelling. The dialogue is pretty bad, but it's intentionally bad. Like, it's so on the nose, the dialogue, that you're like, that was intentional. You can tell. I've seen every James Wan movie that he's made so far in terms of directing, and all his films have pretty solid dialogue. Sometimes they get that cheesy goofball line in there that you're like, the I see dead people line in The Sixth Sense, where you're like, that line is fucking awesome, and it sums up the film, and it's creepy. But since a film, they've always had that really dramatic line that ends a scene or climactically sets up something big. And it's always really cheesy nowadays, and no matter when you hear it, that's every single line of dialogue ending a scene in this movie. The cops are fucking hilarious. There's a scene where they're looking at a dead body, analyzing what's happened to this dead body, and the main cop is just sucking on a fucking Tootsie Pop, and then it ends with her going, it's like, an abusive husband, but no one enters and no signs of breaking in. Motive. And then she just sucks on the Tootsie Pop, and then the scene fucking cuts. It's so cheesy and yet perfect. The cop characters are fun. I do like our main character. Annabelle Wallis gives a great performance, at least to the extent that she can give with the character she is playing, of Emily-Madison. Emily-Madison. Yeah, she got 2 names. She cool as fuck. I will say one thing really quickly. The horror elements on the first viewing are creepy because you don't know what's going on. But once you know what's going on, it sort of becomes this fun comedic effect mystery film. Like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, there's some creepy elements to this. But once I know what's really happening, it's like, oh, that's so crazy and fucking weird that it's like almost like comedic. It becomes slightly humorous and funny compared to what you were ideally thinking when you were starting the film for the first time. When you watch it again and again, it becomes more fun and more notable to pick up on lines and elements. You do have to love a good movie where when you hear the twist, then you go back and watch it, you catch little things that you're like, oh, this actually explained it here, what the twist was the entire time. It has that element. It's not like a cheapy shit thing where the twist comes out of nowhere and you're like, okay, but that doesn't add up. It does add up for what the story and the universe and the rules of this universe are telling us. Like, I figured out the twist in the first 40 minutes. It was more of a guess. It didn't mean I was right. But once it revealed, I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'm right. And then the film just gets insane where it almost feels like, well, shit, it's crazier than I thought. Maybe I didn't get 100% of the twist, but I got a little idea of what they were going for. A few other things. Acting. In terms of acting, I was mentioning, half the actors are fucking great. They're genuinely doing great when it comes to the comedic beats or the very cheesy one-liners in a fucking satire of slasher movies or that campy-based horror movie line where you're like, come on, that's the line. One of my favorite lines is, yo, that bitch having a seizure. It's that line's fucking hilarious, and when you see it in context of where it is, you're gonna laugh too, I guarantee it. The audience laughed at it, and I think a lot of people are gonna think like they laughed at it and they're gonna go, that was so dumb, and then they're gonna think later on like, I didn't like the movie. But the thing is, I think people are gonna be confused, like, well, you were kind of supposed to laugh at it. You're kind of supposed to have that giddiness inside you and adrenaline of like, what the fuckery is happening. I do like the look of the film. It's very well shot. James Wan is, of course, a talented director. He's not made, in my opinion, the worst film he's made is probably, for me, Insidious Chapter 2. I was not a big fan of Insidious 2. I felt like it was like a rehash of the first film mixed with a few elements that would link to future films, but they didn't do anything with it, which is kind of weird because that film does feel heavily like a cash grab. And that same year, only a few months later, he had The Conjuring come out, and The Conjuring was a huge fucking hit. Box office wise, critic wise, audience wise, it was just being praised. I remember when that came out, I couldn't see it. I watched it, I watched it when it came out. I don't remember exactly when I watched it when it came out, but I did watch it when it came out. In that year, not in theaters. I would have been like 11, 10. I would have been like 10 when I watched it at home. And that movie is pretty iconic for its scares and its creativity in its scares. But this film here is visually scary. If anything, this movie's going to scare you, it's the visuals, the look of it. The idea of that mystery is hidden within the cinematography of the film. There's this great upper headshot where it's our lead character running through her house, but everything you're seeing as she's running through the house is an overhead shot, so you get her perspective of going around through all three dark rooms, up the stairs, going to her room, closing the door, locking it. It's so fucking cool because it's just she's going up and terrified and running, and it's just a long tracking shot, and we don't know if there's anything following her or not. She's just scared shitless. Intro is a really fun intro. I love the first 3 minutes that just let you know, alright, this is going to be creepy, it's going to have a mystery, it's going to have a very unique style, and it's also going to be campy fun. They let you know right off the bat. And while the second act, since it's mainly just slasher kills with a basic premise around it going on consistently, that act might get repetitive, but once the third act kicks in, you're going to be like, oh, I kind of appreciate this slow build-up to kind of trick me into getting a film that I'm not. And again, that's why, when the reviews were first coming out, it was at a 50% I saw, and I was like, okay, that's kind of the score with the trailer I was expecting. And then I heard people saying it was campy and weird and fun, and then I saw critics who I would expect then eventually to give it bad reviews, like Grace Randolph on YouTube. I do actually enjoy her YouTube channel. I expected her, with these reviews, I know she's not the biggest fan of these types of horrors, so I expected her maybe to give it a bad score. But she said she had a lot of fun with it, and I could totally get it. Some people, this film is just really going to kick in. But the friends I watched it with the first night, we all three loved it for different reasons. Then I watched it the second night, and I think the other two were enjoying it, but very confused on why they might be enjoying it. Same effect tonight. I went with a couple of friends to see it. Everyone seemed to have the same opinion, like a 7 out of 10. They thought it was pretty good. Well, they said they thought it was pretty good, but they're not 100% sure if they liked it or they didn't like it, which I don't really know what that means, but I get why you could feel confused, because the movie's so weird that you might not get what it's going for. And an average audience member is not going to know. If you're a fan of horror movies and you've grown up on horror and you know all the different types of genres, directors, styles, looks to a film, you're going to appreciate what this movie is. If you're not, then you're probably going to be weirded out by it. It's like when A24 movies come out. Like Hereditary received bad audience reviews. Audiences didn't like it. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but Hereditary is fucking creepy and awesome. It's one of the greatest horror movies to come out in the modern day. And just people didn't like it. And, that's fine, because an average audience is going to be weirded out and not find it creepy and not understand why everyone else is loving it, and why the critics are giving it great reviews, and why it's being praised as one of the scariest movies in recent years. So I can totally get it, and I can totally get the confusion with many films, including this one. So my big recommendation for this film is, I would say check it out in theaters. And if not, and you don't feel safe going to theaters and all that, it is on HBO Max, and it makes a fun watch at home as long as you're watching with people. I feel like if I watched this on my own, it would have been a different experience, but when you watch it with people, it has a lot of fun to it. Now that I've seen it with people multiple times, I could probably watch it on my own and be like, this part's always fun. I definitely will be picking up the Blu-ray and or 4K. It's so weird. Some Warner Brothers movies recent years get the 4K and the Blu-ray. Some just get the Blu-ray and it has like a Blu-ray digital, not even a DVD sometimes. So, yeah, I will probably pick this up on whatever highest quality format that it receives. And if it gets a vinyl, holy fuck, the score and soundtrack for this movie is awesome and so different. At times it could be repetitive because they do like the same synth score of Friday the 13th. Ring, 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 ring. That type of score, They do that shit a lot. And it does get a little repetitive, but it's still awesome. So, yeah. We'll get the Blu-ray. If it gets a vinyl, would probably order that because it's awesome. And it's a very enjoyable, fun film. And I'm letting people know in my review that it is campy and weird. And you're either going to completely love it or completely fucking hate it. Probably based on that third act alone will probably change your opinion on it. So, yeah. I'm not going to watch it again anytime soon. I think once you've seen it 3 times, back to back to back in the days, kind of gets old. I saw Shang-Chi 4 times, back to back to back to back in theaters, like day to day. And I loved Shang-Chi as well, but there was a point when you don't want to watch a movie anymore. But in a few months or a year, definitely I'll check all these great movies back out. And Malignant, for me, is great. I've been saying, I gave it 8.5 out of 10. And I don't think that's necessarily overpraised. I think that's just my real hype personal enjoyment. But logically, I think now I can firmly say that I would stick with Malignant being an 8 out of 10. So yeah, if this audio didn't go fuck up and crazy while I was driving, then yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'm hoping to see the card counter very soon, either in theaters or at home if it comes out. I hear Queen Pins is going to be on Paramount Plus in just 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not going to go pay $10 to see that at Cinemark, especially because I heard it wasn't good. So Queen Pins I will see soon. This week itself, I'm going to Barb and Star, and since I'm going to see it in fucking theaters, I figured I might as well do a review of it, because I absolutely adore this movie. Barb and Star is one of my favorites this year, and you'll hear why very soon. I'm going to go see it in the theaters. It was not released in theaters because it was put straight to home right before theaters were kind of reopening up. If it would have been delayed maybe 2 more months, we would have been seeing it in theaters, but sadly not. So I am going to see Barb and Star in theaters with 2 friends. It's a sold-out Alamo Drafthouse screening. I saw that some of the actors and even Richard Cheese showed up to a Drafthouse screening. I don't know where the Drafthouse was, but it wasn't Dallas. But if an actor or someone showed up, I would probably geek the fuck out because I love this movie and the cast. So Barb and Star review coming this week. What else? I'm trying to think what comes out this week actually. Cop Shop, that comes out. I'll probably see Cop Shop and review that. And I think there's one other movie, and it's not on the top of my head, but in editing, I'll put up the movies that are coming out this week, just so fuck it. So yeah, 8 out of 10 Malignant, check it out. More reviews coming soon. Yeah, that's it. Bye!